It's time.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So now, as we continue to make our way down the list of competitors for the Deep Waters Invitational, I am proud to bring you somebody who we know well. He has been on the Verbal Tap podcast, the best podcast there is, but he's also been an individual who's competed at high-level competition before, including but not limited to EBI, the Newaza Challenge, and coming up very soon on August 12th at 5 p.m., the Deep Waters Invitational. Please say hello to our good friend, Juan Bernardo. Juan, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not bad. You are at the gym, correct? That's what's going on here?
Yes.
Okay. So you're taking time out of your deeply busy schedule to just make sure that you could talk with us about this Deep Waters Invitational, correct?
I am taking time out of my getting my swole on to do this interview, yeah. But you know what? It's okay. I can sacrifice a little bit of muscle building. I've got plenty already.
Your Instagram doesn't seem to suggest that as much because there's a picture of you with some quotation about savagery and letting us know what it means to be lifting.
Well, I spend a lot of my time pretending like I'm lifting, yes.
Oh, okay.
I put a lot of effort into making it look that way.
Well, I mean, it really does seem like it. So, you're in good shape, so there is that. But let's talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu career, because nobody cares about you lifting. Everybody knows lifting doesn't work in jiu-jitsu, so...
That's true. Nobody looks like they lift in jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And there's no such things as, like, steroids. Everybody just
does
does jiu-jitsu to get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's all technique. So.
Absolutely. Juan, I have to ask you this. I know you well, but I don't know that I know the beginning of your journey. I would like to ask you right up top, how did you get involved in jiu-jitsu?
UFC, actually. I was sitting in my dorm room at UC Irvine, flipping through the channels, and I happened to upon Spike TV, and they showed Ultimate Fighter 3 with Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock as the coaches. And so I kind of like grew up dabbling in martial arts, nothing like super serious. But after watching that, it got me like super interested in getting more serious into training some type of like martial arts. One of the coolest things I will say is on Tough 3, where I first saw like jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and all that, one of the coaches on Tito Ortiz's team was Dean Lister. So to now be like a Dean Lister, to be on his team is really cool for me because it almost comes back like full circle.
Have you ever told him that you watched him on Tough 3?
I think we have talked about it before. Another like really like this silly coincidence was because I lived in Irvine. There were that was where like Tito Ortiz's gym was, and so he had a like an autograph signing. And so one of my first ever like run-ins with anybody in like the UFC or jiu-jitsu community, Dean happened to also be one of them. So one of my first like autographs that I ever got was from Dean. So it's really funny like coincidences like what happens in life.
If you don't mind me asking, how does Dean feel he was portrayed on The Ultimate Fighter? Because that's where I had one of my first exposures to him, I remember as well, was watching him be a jiu-jitsu coach, and I was thinking like, oh, that's really cool to see how this is working, and that he got to be involved.
We've talked about his experience on the show before. I think he thought it was a great experience, and he and I think Tito Ortiz used to be like pretty good friends. I don't think they're as close as they are now. They don't see each other as often. But his experiences in it, from what it sounds like, was super positive. So he said he had a great time coaching on the show.
Well, also having that kind of person to help you through your own journey has to be really good because Dean himself has fought. He's been at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu competition. So having him as a mentor over at Victory, as well as with Jeff Glover, I mean, you're not going wrong with two individuals like that.
No, yeah, for sure. Jeff and Dean are two great coaches and two great American Jiu-Jitsu athletes. and just really cool people. They're fun to be around, and it makes it easy to train when you enjoy being around the people that you are with.
Does it make it easier for them to train with you when they tell me on record they don't like being around you?
It probably makes it easier for them, because then if you secretly don't like someone and you get to beat them up, I feel like that's pretty good incentive to get to the gym too.
That's good. So, okay, so you start training because of the Ultimate Fighter 3 finale, which obviously was marred in its own controversy. So you go on to do other things. And it makes sense because that is around the time when I really became invested in the UFC as well. I felt like they were making a big push. The whole Spike TV deal was giving them new exposure. It was right after, Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin. So you start training. Where does training start for you? You didn't just start at Victory, correct? Because you were in Irvine.
No. Yeah, so I was in Irvine, and I was looking around at different schools. I think it was my final year there. But at the time, because it was kind of like brand new, every gym around the area was like I think the closest one was like $200 a month. And I was like, that's kind of pricey, like, especially because a lot of them wanted year contracts at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving in like 6 months. It's hard for me to commit to something like that. So once I finally get down to San Diego, so I moved down to San Diego for law school, and I started looking around for gyms. One of the OG gyms in San Diego is called City Boxing. And City Boxing is like, that's where like a lot of guys, Brandon Vera got his start, Dean Lister was training there, KJ Noons was training there. So a lot of like the San Diego people who have gyms now and teams now, they're all from like City Boxing. So that's where I started as well. And I started my jiu-jitsu journey there. And I was there for about 3 years before I moved to Victory.
Okay. So that happens. When is the moment that you know you're hooked? When is the moment that you know that jiu-jitsu isn't just going to be something that you do as a hobby? You do it more as a passion and it starts taking over?
It was pretty immediate. Jiu-jitsu and MMA in general, like the UFC, was something that was like I got started with and got involved with and got interested in about the same time as my brother. So me and my brother would always watch fights together. We had mats at our parents' house. My brother for his birthday, I think, asked for mats like for his birthday. So we had mats at our parents' house, and so we would just like wrestle around and play around. And me and my brother would, we'd watch fights and then we would like try moves. So getting to an actual gym, it wasn't like completely. I didn't get there like completely new, like not knowing like what was going on. I was like, I've seen how this is done on UFC. So it was enjoyable to finally like know how to properly do things, as opposed to just like seeing it on a fight and being like, this is kind of like what it looks like. So
I'm so glad you are exactly the affliction and tap out image in most people's minds. It's like, oh, this is that an armbar? I already know it. Go to the next thing, because I'm so good at that.
I'm like, this is an easy move. I see this on UFC all the time. So that's basically how I got. That's kind of like when I knew. I was like, oh, I think I'm bit for life.
Well, that's good. And I mean, I don't want to put your business out on the front street, but you are a bigger guy who became smaller. So the jiu-jitsu sort of velted you a little bit and made you a smaller, sir?
Yeah. So, yes, I am a fat kid in general.
I have to put this out there because later on we're going to do a plug to your Instagram. And I want people to understand that unlike the gym culture where you just are like, oh, I'm lifting this weights, and then you like put it down and you're like, I'm not lifting that. Your food is a real thing. I have had lunches with you. I have watched you eat. You enjoy the process of eating, which I do as well, except you actually do the things to try and make yourself look like you're in shape. Whereas I just say, like, I'm good. This is what you do. Yeah.
I mean, it's easy nowadays too, because all you gotta do is like suck in for a couple seconds, take a couple pictures, and then be like, oh yeah, I'm 160 today. Lighting makes a big difference sometimes. makeup is
But
very
if
helpful.
people look at your Instagram, they're going to see how much food that you put in. And I swear to God, you're maybe the only person that I know in my list, and I'm sure there are more, but you're the only person who uses the hashtag yummy. And I know that that's you being like, So for you, was that part of the motivation because not just to stay healthy, but to change like a lifestyle set? And did that start to set in when you were doing it?
It wasn't like something that I thought about in the beginning. I had always played sports growing up, so I played football all throughout high school. I played a year in college, and so because of those workouts, I didn't really I wasn't really concerned with my diet too much because you had like intense workouts, so you weren't getting super fat because of all the running you're doing.
Right.
But once I stopped, you continue eating the way you do, and I'm going to 24-hour fitness, for an hour a day or something like that, and
Right.
it just wasn't cut. It was not helping the 2 Jack in the Box runs you're doing every day, So I did start to get, you start to notice a lot more. And then when I started training, it wasn't a big issue at first because size and weight does help when you're fighting against guys, the same skill level as you. So it wasn't it wasn't that big of a deal. It was only when I started competing that I was like, fighting guys who are 180 pounds, these are big dudes.
Right.
And so that's more, it kind of evolved from that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, what they do say is jiu-jitsu is for everybody. And that's great. But competition is also for everybody and then some. Like, there's those people who are like, well, what is your competitive advantage? And then if you want to be really good at it and continue to be in that element and be that competitive, you do have to do additional types of training.
No, 100%. It's and the more mainstream jiu-jitsu gets, and the more people who are interested in it, it's it's a sport.
Yep.
And so if you're not gonna train like an athlete, you're gonna have a hard time being successful at the highest levels, for sure. I mean,
Just took me a second because I wasn't sure if you were taking Osiander's line over there, and I was like,
which one?
It was just like, you're going to have a hard time. I was like, I don't know if he knows that he's doing that, but I'm like, it is there.
That's true.
Well, that's great. Okay, now we need to, and Juan, we need to get very serious on this part. Very serious.
All right.
You were going to compete at one of our tournaments, and then you
I
had
was.
to take an injury, which made us sad because you really wanted to compete, and I wanted you to compete as well, but I also, in good conscience, couldn't let you compete because you had taken an injury, and you were getting taped up, and you were asking the guy right in front of me, the medic, you were like, I'm competing tomorrow, and I'm like, no, he's not. And the guy goes, well, how do you know, like, you get to say what happens here? And I'm like, it's my tournament. So I do have a say here.
Yeah. So I was gonna do the I think it was a
OC Open.
OC Open, right?
Yes.
So I was gonna do the OC Open, and I competed down in San Diego the day before, and yeah, I ended up messing up my ankle on a single leg shot or something, and that's right. We were sitting down, and I was getting taped up, and I was like, I'm gonna be okay for tomorrow, right? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? But it's funny because, we do talk fairly often, and we talk about, like, whenever I'm competing next and stuff, and you might be the only person who is like, should you be competing? I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine, right?
It's because I know that you have the following in your life. You have most people who are going to be like, compete if you want, dude, whatever, it's good, you should do it. Which you take as like, well, they say I should compete.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your brain, you're like, well, I can walk, so I can compete. My question is always, how do you live? And like, do you then have to live with that as something that you then are doing in your everyday life, maybe 2 weeks later, that then you have to like just get through and grunt? And does that take away from future training from you? So I always put myself in the competitor's shoes, and I say, if you don't have jiu-jitsu in your life, will this person go crazy? And I believe my answer with you is usually yes, because I've seen you be hurt
100%
before
yes.
and just be like super grumpy and just being like,
Oh, for sure, for sure. You are probably, if I think about it, you're probably the voice of reason in terms of jiu-jitsu training and competing, in my life at least.
put that in and make sure we make a t-shirt that Juan
Yeah.
Bernardo said Raf Esparza is the voice of reason. Oh, hello. How are you doing, sir?
Ralph,
Oh,
this is that's my
nope,
friend
nope.
Rudy.
Rudy
Nope.
wants no more part of it. He's good.
No.
Does Rudy ever fill in for Zangief when you guys are doing Street Fighter recreations by any chance?
No. Zangief's too good looking.
Oh, okay.
So
Just wanted to make
yeah, it's not.
Okay. It was just the buzz cut and a little bit of there that I was like, he's got a little Zangief or he's Russian, one of the two.
What? One of the two.
Okay, so, that unfortunately took you out of our OC Open, and we were very
It did,
sad.
yes.
But then we were happy to hear that you were going to be competing in our Deep Waters Invitational that's going on August 12th. My question to you is, why compete with us?
One, I love competing. That's the first thing. Secondly, I like you guys. I like Eric. I like Joey.
Mm-hmm.
I can stand you for the most part.
Sure.
So
Voice of reason, asshole. Don't forget that.
I'm just kidding because I love you guys. You guys are awesome. We always have a great time together. And from what I heard, like the tournaments you guys run they're well run. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to be in it. And and the other thing too is like it's in San Diego, so it's in not a bad commute for me.
Yeah, no, that's a big consideration.
And I've always wanted to visit the Midway. Lived here for like 8 years.
Really?
I've walked by it a number of times. Never actually been on it. So I was
I think we could put in a good word with you at the Midway. I'm pretty sure we can make that dream happen.
I appreciate it. And the other thing too is I have an affinity for the Midway because there's a big 41 on the Midway, and that was like my number growing up, like playing football. So I've always had a special spot for it.
Why 41? Was that the number you just got handed?
That's the number they gave me.
What a breakdown of luck and science. You're just like, whatever, they gave me 41.
Yeah.
So I always wonder this because, you have competed at ABI, and I consider that one of the top levels of competition in jiu-jitsu right now, especially in no-gi. And then you've also done tournaments where there's only sub-only, like not sub-only time limit, but it's sub-only, you go to the finish. Mm-hmm. So what is the appeal of doing our format, which is sub-only, but akin to like EBI?
One, the sub-only aspect of it allows people like to open up your game. You can open up your game a lot more. You don't have to worry about certain positions or maintaining certain positions. It just allows you to be a lot more free with your jiu-jitsu. It's always more exciting when competitors are going for the finish because that's the only way to win versus as a competitor, you're like up 2 points and, you're stuck in someone's guard. I've got a minute left. I'm just going to pretend like I'm trying to pass guard, which I've done before, I pretended like I was trying to pass. I get stuck in side control and I'm pretending to go for a Kimura or something. It doesn't make it very exciting to watch, and I know that. But, how do you want to win? So you end up doing that. With these rule sets, if the only way to win is to submit somebody, you can't do those kind of things. So that's for me is what is appealing about the sub-only format. And then especially with the EBI, sometimes like you don't want to fight for 45 minutes or an hour. So the time limit helps a little bit just because I've got ADD. I'm like 45 minutes into a match, I'm going to be like, I got stuff to do. I mean, I can't be here forever.
Have you ever had a roll go longer? Like, have you had a roll go for about 45 minutes?
I think one of my longest rolls in a tournament was like 20 minutes. It was like 20 minutes long. And in training, I don't know. I'm sure I have, but I don't like look at the time as much. So, but after 15, 18 minutes of like hard rolling, you're like, this is taking quite a while.
Yeah.
This is also why I never play Monopoly, because after a while I'm like, I gotta go.
Juan's the person that flips over the table and is like, no, if I can't win, no one wins. All the houses belong to the floor now.
That's right.
I just remembered once, like, Rafael Lovato Jr. went on this thing about telling us, like, him and Shanji have these long rolls and, like, other, like, black belts like him. And he just goes, yeah, sometimes I don't feel like I get warmed up until the 20th minute. And at the time he was telling this to me, it was like me and Kev were both really beginning of verbal tap career. It's like our first year of hearing it. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, it sounds like you put something in the oven and then you're like, oh, it's been an hour 30? Yeah, I gotta go, dude. I gotta get that thing out of the oven.
Exactly.
Like, I couldn't possibly think it. And then I've had long rolls that go forever. And I find that after the 30th minute, it does become an attrition of wills. But it also, and I found this with many of this, myself included, but from a lot of the competitors, really, is you just kind of go, when does this end? Like, how is this ending? You know, and the strongest competitors are the ones who will find the will to win. But for the most part, there's definitely, like, times when you'll ask them and you'll be like, well, I've seen people go an hour and a half. And then I ask them, like, how did it go? And they go, it was tough. And I go, did you ever think of, like, saying you'd split the prize money with the person if you just called it and somebody caught an easy armbar? And they're like, yes, I did think that.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere in the, the hour 15 mark, you're sitting there and you're like, we just split it. We both go home with something.
Absolutely. So anyway, well, that's good. I'm glad that you're going to get to compete with us. Yeah. I'm glad that you get to avenge the fact that you were feeling a little bit with an injury before, because you are somebody who is actively out there. I do want to ask this. Because you have done EBI before, what was those sets of nerves like? Because that's a different beast into itself. That is the sub-only with the pinnacle of competing there. What was the most unique part about that experience for you?
I think, well, definitely, yeah. The first one, the first EBI that we did, I think was my first time ever being in basically a tournament where you're the only match going on.
Yeah.
So that was new to me, and it was scary. But I also talk about this with my teammates and stuff. How no matter how many times you compete, no matter where you're competing, I always get nervous. I'm always anxious. I don't know. I mean, I can understand why people don't like competing, because it is very nerve-wracking. It's there's a lot of anxiety to it, and whether or not you're competing at EBI or any other tournament, I get the same nerves. So it's kind of weird. It's not, regardless of what show or what tournament or what competition it is. I always get that anxious, that anxiety before my matches.
Well, that's cool. So now with about a little less than a month out, are you excited? Where are you at? And are you competing before then? Because I need to take notes in case you try to pull another injury out, sir.
I got nothing until then.
Okay.
It's still far enough out where I'm still excited. It's usually the day before.
Sure.
That's when the nerves sucking in, because you're like, okay, now I got to compete tomorrow, and you never want to, one, lose, and two, you never want to go out there and look bad.
Sure.
So you're always worried about those things. So right now I'm still super excited for it, and I'm ready to compete, ready to train for it. And
I'm just asking this because I want to know if you're going to be at some other competition and then you're going to have the same tape-up conversation where it's going to be the cut me, Mick. You got to cut me. Don't tell Raph. If Raph finds out he's going to cut me from this competition.
As of now and for the foreseeable future, I'm pretty. I'm just worrying about training right now.
Okay.
So nothing until then.
Okay. I will have spies on you to make sure that they land you and deliver you to my tournament just fine.
But I think they are doing an EBI at the end of this month. So if somebody falls through and they're like, Juan, we need you to come in
it's a female
and fight
EBI.
the girls.
You can't do the female EBI. I don't care what you identify as or what your clothing identifies as. I'm just letting you know they are not going to allow you to compete.
I don't appreciate that you just assume my gender, but
I didn't assume any of your gender. Your gender's still trying to figure it out, I think.
No, I'm good till then.
Well, good. I'm glad that's the case. Well, Juan, where can people find you if they are looking for you and they want to follow you and more of your food Instagramming?
Usually I'm at Jack in the Box. I've been hitting Wendy's a lot recently. I'm always a sucker for
I'm not
Mexican
going to
food
let
as
you
well.
promo
So
your sponsors in a second if you keep this up. Jesus Christ.
so that's what, if you want to find me, that's where I am. I'm in line for a burrito.
Got sponsored by Wendy's. Then
Hey, I'm waiting for my Chipotle sponsorship. That's when you know you've made it big.
Oh, you want the
When
Chipotle?
Oh yeah.
What you gotta do is you gotta go the BJ Penn route, which is BJ Penn was always saying, what did he say famously on Ultimate Fighter? He's like, yeah, bro, no, I can do burritos. I do burritos all the time, Raj. I love them. They love me. Like, what is up, Chipotle? Go ahead and sponsor me, yo. So I think that's what,
yeah.
Go.
I think that's a good route to take.
I think so too. Okay, where can people find you on social media?
On social media, you can find me on my Facebook page. I think it's Juan Mob, and on Instagram, it's Juan Mob 41, I think, or J Mob 41.
Okay.
One of those.
Okay. And you'll find lots of workouts. You'll see occasional peeks into the training that goes over at Victory MMA with Juan, and of course, the great people who train over there, Dean Lister and Jeff Glover, as well as the many, many great training partners who I've got to meet over there when I have come to visit. They are so great. I cannot put them over enough because every time I've been there, they've been very welcoming to me, and I appreciate that.
They are wonderful, wonderful people.
Yep, absolutely. Again, I don't want you to end on that part because I was like, don't end on a lie. Like, they're good people.
Yeah,
but I just want to make sure. Let's do this, my man. I wanted to ask, too, before we get you on out of here, if people are unfamiliar with you and your style, what is one of the best matches they can find online? Just to get an idea of what it is y'all do.
Probably. Oh, I had a good. One of the a fun match to watch is me against Clark Gracie. I think he's a black belt now. Brandon Walensky.
Oh yeah.
That's a good match on YouTube. I actually just ended up watching. I don't watch my matches after I compete. It's weird.
Wait, I'm sorry. Mr. Showtime over here, who's like, oh, put me on Ultimate Beastmaster.
I haven't seen that. I haven't even seen that with the sound on yet.
You still haven't seen that with the sound on?
Yeah, I watched it on mute. It's a weird thing. But the match against me and Brandon Walensky, that's a good match. He ended up armbarring me in like the last minute, but it's a good match, and he's awesome.
I mean, Brandon is one of the better competitors out there. So, and you know what he does? Like, I've seen him do. Every time I see him get that omoplata entry, he doesn't even necessarily need to finish with it. He just likes to F around with it just to get good control from it. And unlike, of course, you have Clark. Of course, you don't even need it. You're just like, oh, that's my third or fourth option. If I guess I have to make an omoplata, no big deal. But for those of you who don't know, Juan is also one of the featured stars on Ultimate Beastmaster. You can catch it on Netflix. So if you want a good laugh, go ahead and watch that one.
That's right. If you want a good laugh, I'm on episode 4.
I love that. Well, dude, let's do this. We already closed out on those big things. I want you to end on this note, which is very simple. Tell the people what it is they can expect from seeing you at our upcoming Deep Waters Invitational on August 12th.
Oh, you can expect to see a exciting match. A lot of movement, a lot of inversions, a lot of footlock attempts, a lot of trying to back takes. I'm all about back takes, footlocks, so moving around, getting into different fun positions and then just like an enjoyable match.
That's sweet. Well, Juan, I thank you very much for your time here today. Just to let you guys know, as a reminder, it is the USSGL's Deep Waters Invitational. That goes down at 5 p.m. on August 12th, and it is going to be at the beautiful San Diego Broadway Pier. You're going to want to be there as part of our full weekend, where there's going to be Juan and 7 other individuals going for a $1,000 cash prize. And if you guys do go for tickets, go to our Eventbrite. There is a drop-down menu. Go ahead and say that you're here for Juan Bernardo, because those things help him out, and we want to make sure we take care of him and his sponsors, who are...
we got Virus International, Inouye Clothing, and Tactical Health.
Fantastic. So we will see you guys there. And if you have any further questions about signing up for our tournament, you can check out ussgl.com/register. And on behalf of all of us here, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.
Good work out there, guys. That's the hardest I've worked yet in a competition class.
Guys, you know what would be insane? If someone made a tournament outside on the ocean. What? And what if it had like a party vibe? Like a DJ, some acai, maybe some cocktails? What?
It would have to be on the ocean by an aircraft carrier.
What? Eric, nobody would ever do that.
Of course they would.
Nobody wouldn't. Nobody would ever make that kind of a tournament.
That is a pretty crazy idea.
I don't think so, man.
Eric, you have several ideas.